Yo, 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 good morning, everybody. So, this is what we're currently working on. We're close to the finish line, I would say. Left on a pretty bad note yesterday. Not that we had an issue we couldn't find, we just have a lot of errors that we need to fix because we were right in the middle of doing this. So I'm just gonna finish this and maybe research if this is possible, and then we're gonna move on to this one. And this is where we will implement the so-called, or what I refer to it as, activity texture. We're going to do some experimentation today. We're going to start with a binary solution. So pretty much I just want to light up the points in the terrain which are occupied by objects, pretty much. Okay, so terrain base. Yeah, we removed terrain data, which is pretty good. So clear data, I'm not so sure we have this one. Clear data. Okay. First of all, I'm gonna take this one and move it further up. I don't know why. Or actually, maybe... Nah, we're gonna have it at the top. I wonder... Actually, let's wait with that one sec. Yo, what's up, Norin? Alter terrain data, public void clear terrain data. Norin, good. Nice to hear, nice to hear. A long time no see, right? I'm doing fine. Probably gonna do some interesting things today, so I'm looking forward to that. Sama, good morning. Cozer, very, very slowly developing a creature game. Hey, now you're just being mean, man. Okay, what more do we have? Terrain data. We're going to remove this layer. And then we have applied data as well. Update buffer, I think it is. Some big things require time and patience. I agree 100%. That's the mindset I try to have. Okay. Okay, so these are all methods we use for the fluid solver. I've always been a little bit skeptical to this, honestly, and I think this is the part of the fluid solver that will be the easiest to optimize, because right now when we move data here, which I don't think we will be doing eventually, but for instance we do this for each and every terrain patch, not only the affected ones. So this is definitely one of those points that can improve performance if we make it more specific, pretty much. Derek, thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's pretty much what it feels like sometimes. But I think we're actually getting somewhere good now. It's very nice to see this terrain system come in place and work. Very performant so far. Knock on wood. All the components work together very well. Starting to look quite nice as well. But okay, but let's just change these so they work with the new definitions and backends, and we will think about or improve this eventually. Norin, did you play my demo? Not yet, unfortunately. Like, I've only been streaming 3 hours this and last week, and that's not because I've grown tired of streaming. It's just because I don't have the time for more right now. I'm extremely time constrained these days. Move data. So this is one. I don't think we have. Yeah, we do it like this currently. Let's take a look at this one, because I think we can improve this one. So basically, what this one is let's go to terrain data. This could be swapping whatever data we have stored in the first byte here with any one of the other ones, so a full swap. Or it could also be swapping of, for instance, this byte with another terrain data's byte, any byte. It's currently used in the fluid solver when we want to visualize the changes between different states. We have a previous state and a current state, and then when we develop a new state, or when we calculate a new state, we swap the current state with the previous state, and then we calculate the new one. Would be nice if we were working with arrays and could just swap them easily, but that's not what we have. We could probably do this with some nice byte masking eventually. Alt value clear. Okay, so we want to swap here, I think. We want to implement a swap. But not here. How did we implement this one here? Get two buffers. Yeah, we take the min here and then we swap. Yeah, let's go with this implementation now as well. Type 1, type 2. That swap, we also want to do move. That's true. Do we have move? Swap terrain data, move terrain data. Yeah, let's add a clear source as well. We pretty much do the exact same thing as wonder if we could just as well merge these, honestly. Maybe not. I just want to double check one thing. Swap data channels. I'm gonna see when we have fixed all these errors. I'm gonna see if it works. If it still works, I'm gonna look into optimizing this so we just swap and apply. We swap and apply only on the terrain patches that are affected. Where we have a change. So we're just gonna have to calculate when we do update stable fluid state. We're gonna have to double check which terrain patches we're doing it in. Just keep an array of terrain patches where each entry is unique, pretty much. Norin, do you use Unity dots in the game? No, not yet. But I have plans to research it more and see how it could work in my game. I think we could do some really cool stuff with it. Do you use it in your game? Apply. Okay, so that's all issues here. Same as you. Nice. If I find any good write-ups or anything, I will make sure to share them in the Discord. Like, the more I look and hear about like dots and the new entity system in Unity and stuff like that, it feels like it would be a perfect, or part of my game would be a perfect use case for it. Like, eventually we're gonna have a lot of, it's a little bit of a naming, like Unity uses entity and I have my own defined entity, which is not really the same, but I'm gonna have a lot of AI agents running around, altering and fetching data at all times. So yeah, I will see. I'm optimistic about dots, at least. Terrain point, water temporary. Value. So I want to see value was height range remap. Okay, so what was value is our data real value. This time around, I think it's good to differentiate between them explicitly. Get value. So data was our I'm pretty sure it's data byte value, yes. Why? Do we have one of these? No, we don't. Okay. We do have alter terrain data like this. Okay. I think this is the only... Yeah, if we take a look at the issue, I have this one here, remove need of custom struct terrain point or custom class. If we could get rid of this one terrain point, it would be amazing. And what I'm getting at is I would love to take this one and just have it in like all this information exists at a different place. Apart from this is just a nice packaging of stuff. Because if we take a look at what we want to do now, we have set data value. Terrain point sets a data value in terrain patch. I don't know if I, like, in the best of worlds, I wouldn't allow for any outside class to set specific data values in terrain patch like this. If we wanted to update the data, we would have entry and exit points much like this one. So we send in an area we want to alter, and the terrain patch alters the data or the related data. Getting rid of terrain point would help with this a lot, and getting rid of yeah, just cleaning it up generally. Norin, the one thing that doesn't seem great in DOTS is non-existing animation system for entities. You need to swap the models for animation or use some other hacky way. Oh, is that true? That doesn't seem too good. I'm probably gonna take the winter break, or this time in the winter, to properly research the DOTS system, because in the first half of 2025 I would like to start implementing creatures, but it all depends on at what state the terraforming vertical slice is at. But yeah, so if you want to animate entities, like, that's when you have to do some hacky solution. Do I understand that correctly? Terrain patch set data set value. So for instance, Norin, in your RTS game, if you have 20 units that are based on the dot system and you want to animate them using animations, that's not possible by default. You have to do some workaround. Okay, for now, let's add one of those, and I want to do set value int yes, we're just gonna do public void set data terrain data type int x int y byte value. And then we're gonna do it like let's add a terrain here, because that's what we do for the other ones. And here, when we have an int, we just do set terrain data type x, y, byte mathf clamp value 0255. Yes, so you can mirror the entities using game object, but I think that misses the point of using entities. Okay, let's see what we have for where do we have our water? We have it underneath here. Yeah, we offset it. I just want to try and see if our Fluid Solver works with the new system. It should work. I don't see why not. Instantiate. Let's remove this one. Gostan, hello, thank you for the outline shader. No problem at all. Hope it works out nicely for you. Good morning, Harukanan. I don't know if I said it previously, but good morning, good morning. Do we have water here? Okay, we have water, but... Good morning, Calvino. Let's see if we can add some water here. Seem to be having some issue with it. I'm not getting the updates of the water that I want. Nor in CodeMonkey used the swapping models method in the last DOTS course. Okay. So swap them based on distance to camera or something like that, or if they are visible or not, or... Oh, it could have been... Interesting. Calvino, that's some pretty looking water. Yeah, I think so, even though we have some bugs going on here right now. Currently I can't seem to add water, so let's take a look at that. What could I have changed behind the scenes for this not to work? Norin, no, for every frame of animation you swap the model. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay, now I understand. Damn. Huh. Okay. I thought you were doing like if a dots object was like you switched it out to a normal game object and therefore got the old animation system working, but what you mean is to make animations work with the entities, you pretty much convert animations from the classical animations to some sort of sprite sheet, but like model sheet, and then you flip through you switch out models to make it appear as if the object is being animated. Huh. Interesting. Okay, this is also interesting. I want to check what happens if I add water here, we stop adding water. What kind of prints do we have? Starting terraforming, terraform creation complete, update complete, stop terraforming. Yeah, we don't get very far when it comes to adding water, so we have alter terrain data, water, terrain fluid solver, add fluid async. Do we have any issues, warnings or errors? No. Buffer alter value, add fluid async. If it's running, return. Actually, we print a lot of stuff here, I think. Finish step. Yeah, we do debug log. Terrain fluid solver. Index out of bounds. Interesting. So that is probably the one that fucks us over. Update stable fluid, that's step 3. Prepare data. Index out of bounds. I want to check this one. And a task was cancelled. Okay. Yeah, that's probably it. Oh, 1 sec, phone call. Just gonna ignore that one. Nornev, I also saw that people bake animations into texture and animate the mesh using shader. Oh yeah. I'm gonna keep all of this in mind when I start researching this. I'm definitely gonna need animations for my entities, that's for sure. Okay, let's see. Where did we get this error? Oh, okay. Interesting. Very interesting. 89. So it's when we do a set value. When we do set value here, x, y. That explains it. Type dot data index. XY value. Okay, that's one issue at least. Okay. I know what's going on here. Just gonna ignore that one for now. It could be... Okay, but I think this works. So what's going on here is that we have a little bit of a the fluid solver in its current state doesn't take moving over terrain patches into account. So if we take a look at, what do we have here? Water 0.38. Yes, when we move from this point to this point, we don't move any distance at all, but we reduce the water as if we did. This is probably just why it's black, however, is because we used the wrong neighboring data when we try to calculate normals, I think. But yes, I think I should be having this one as a task or a water. Fuck, this is pretty unupdated. Let's just do handle traversing terrain patches. I want to double check one thing though. If we're just in one terrain patch, okay, here we don't get any water. Interesting. Out of bounds, yeah, this one we want to check. I also wanted to check what happens if we do height here. And we do... Okay, that's pretty good. This sucks, however, we need to fix this. And if we add height, it's okay. That works pretty good. We're gonna do some recalculations anyway, some normal recalculations if we do this. But okay, let's take a look at this one real quick. This is actually the first time we test the water system, the fluid solver, with multiple terrain patches. Which might explain some of these things. So what do we have here? Triangles. So when we do the first step, we do update fluid meshes, and then we do update mesh. We do update mesh, and when we try to set the triangles, It's because we might possibly be flipping the quads. That's true. And that's why we'll update the triangles. Would like to... Some of you might remember that we had some ugly mismatch. It wasn't really a mismatch, but the edges of the water could look really weird depending on if quads were lining up or not, and a quick fix for that would be to flip the quads. So if we get this weird alignment, we just flip the quads. It's a solution that gives a much better visual result, but it's a solution that updates the mesh triangles and adds a lot of extra calculations. And you can also see, so sometimes when you add water you can actually see quads flipping, which I'm not too fond of. So as with a lot of other stuff, this is something I'm gonna have to research and improve upon in the future. I just don't really know, if we don't flip the quads, how we would do it. But let's see here. Some indices are referring out of bounds vertices. That's not good. We're having indices that are as big as 96k. What the fuck? 16,000. What do we have right now? We have environment 512. 512 divided by 2 times 128. Yeah. We have 16,384 vertices, but we try to set some triangle indices to 96k. That's weird. Resolution. How the fuck do we get that big of a resolution here? Is it set at the wrong? Let's take a look. Terrain patch, generate. Generate, we send in resolution here. We use this resolution, we set this resolution here in instantiate, terrain base, instantiate. We don't do it here, we do it in this one. We send in create new resolution, we just set it. So in terrain base, create new. We send in resolution subdivided, which is resolution divided by subdivision. So in this case, resolution subdivided, or subdivision is 2 subdivision constants. So we have 2 to the power of 2, 4, which means that we send in, I think we send in the correct one, 512 divided by 4, 128. So why do we get this one? Terrain patch mesh, flip quads. So at one place, okay, at some place we get a very bad result here, and I think I know why. When we work with patches, when we work with patches, the indices go from 0 to 127 with the current setup in the X and Y. Terrain points, however, don't take that into account and have the absolute indices, so I think our I and j here is not constrained to 0 and 127, but instead constrained to 0 and 512. I'm pretty sure this is the issue. We're gonna take a look real soon. Norin, there is a €8 animation system asset for dots that uses bake mesh instancing. Should I work everything to dots? Bake mesh instancing. Like, honestly, when you hear RTS game, I guess it depends on how many units at a time one wants to support, but it feels like dots is the natural path to take, and I'm saying this with very, very limited knowledge about dots. Although getting the animations to work will be a huge problem, I would probably go with a dot solution, but I don't know. Let's see, terrain point, X, Y. Nah, maybe I'm off the beat here. I wanna see get index wrapped. I wanna see when we create terrain points. So fluid point, fluid terrain, fluid solver, new terrain point. Okay, we just create one terrain point here, terrain point, get neighbor. When we create a new terrain point here, we wrap X and Y. Get index wrapped X. So it should be between resolution. So I don't think we have terrain points that have bigger or smaller X and Y of. Norin Dev, I want 1 million units on my screen and 1000 FPS. Yeah. Then I don't think you have a choice. With those constraints, one will probably have to settle at pretty low FPS animations for those units as well. So when you bake it into, when you bake an animation into a flipbook, you would probably have to do, I don't know, 4 FPS, 2 FPS. Okay. Flip quad. I want to check. I don't like this solution at all. Actually, the only way I see it is, so the final issue we have is at when we set triangles to triangles here. So at some point when we change the triangles, it's probably not here during the generation, but it's probably here. So somewhere around here we get extremely big. That's true. One sec. Never mind. It has to be J and I here, right? So here we fail it, and it has to be px and py. I don't see it be anything else. If it's less than 0 or bigger than resolution -1, positive mod. Nordin, it's nice to distract you from work. Yeah, I think the discussion is nice. I have nothing against it, but good luck on your stand-up. I don't see how we go out of bounds here. So this is probably not it, but I don't see where we could get this error. It's if it's x star. Oh, that's true. What the fuck? Add fluid async. This might very well be it. Makes sense, makes sense. Let's take a look. Terrain patch. Alt terrain data. Terrain fluid solver instance. Add fluid async. Terraform data center. Center here, yes, we do just do circle origin X. I don't think we do any. Let's see, Terraform data. Offset origin in plain object space. I'm thinking that this this might actually be where we go wrong. So let me just check. Because here we create a terrain point without doing any how do we do it? Unity engine, I mean. Bug.log, I'm pretty sure it is here. Initial Terraform point creation. And let's add xstart plus ystart. Let's try this. Let's just see what kind of value we have. Yo, good morning, Cynic. Early drop by today. Let's try this one. I want to test the water data as well. I don't think we can visualize it though. Gonna have to do that. So let's add water here. What did we get? Do we have an... yeah, whatever. Point. Unity Terraform point creation 120, 123. That is okay. Let's quit this one. Let's run to another patch and try it there. Damn, how big patches do we currently have? Okay, here it looks good. Fuck me. Works as well. We have a little bit of a weird up. When we traverse a patch, is that when we get an error? Yes, it is. Pretty sure. Initial Terraform point creation. Yes, this one always works, but when we traverse a patch, that's when we get the warnings. Okay, makes sense. We did the initial implementation of the Fluid Solver system to only work with one patch. So this is, I'm pretty sure this is it. Cynic, hell yeah, I got some headache and neck issues working from home. I'm sorry to hear, man. Hope it gets better soon. So it's when our Fluid Solver tries to traverse from this patch to this patch. That's when the flipping of quads fails, but our Fluid Solver actually solves it pretty well apart from that. That's actually quite nice. Yeah, apart from this one as well, but whatever. Okay, from one patch to another. Yo, what's up, Namida? What can we do about that? I wonder... We were... Okay, so... We were developing this Fluid Solver with multiple patches in mind, but we haven't gotten around to test it on multiple patches. Let's see. until now, that is. So let's see. It's currently our terrain point that handles the traversing from one terrain patch to another, I think. We only create one terrain point here. And then we start the calculations. Let's check terrain. Oh, 1 sec. Am I... Yeah, here we go. So in our terrain fluid solver, it's line 104 first. So it's update, yeah, of course. And we have it here. So it's in the final step. Affected points. This one we don't care about. So 104 affected points. We do it by X and Y. Terrain point, it has to be here. So it can only be when we create a new terrain point. We do make get index wrapped X and offset, Y offset. So let's see. Let's try -10, for instance. -10 modulus 128 or 127 actually. I'm not so sure about -1 here, but we use this one in quite a lot of places, and we haven't had any problems. So for instance, if we send in 128, we would like to get, so 128 we would like to get 0 for 128, I think. Positive mod, but what we do get here is maybe we get for 128 we would like to get 0, but what we do get here is 128 modulus 128 modulus 127, that's 1 plus m. So then we have, and this is 127. So we get 128, and then we do modulus 120. We get 128. We do modulus 127. We get 1, and that's wrong, isn't it? The places where we use this one is in terrain point and data real value when we calculate the normals. Have we gotten wrong normals? It could be. But I'm gonna have to be real sure about this one. Let's do some calculations, examples here. Should probably add some tests. It's about time, but let's see. Okay, so 128, this one is true. 128, 127. And we get the wrong one. 128, 1. Yeah. So what happens if we send in -1? -1, we get 1 right. -1 works, I think, but it depends. I have to double check this. Yeah, I think we might be going one step too far, but still. Even if we did, this one, $96,774. Even if we did one step too far, the result of this one should never be it should never be greater than m at least. So the result we return here is never greater than resolution -1, unless we have some overflowing or underflowing. But so I don't see how we get this value. We've been here. Okay, we get minus. Okay, that's good. And this is where we have this one. That's good. I'm still thinking about the -1 we have. But anyway, okay, so we get -1 here. Okay, this is good. So if we send in -1, -1 modulus 127, we get minus 1 here, and then we add 127, so we get 126. Modulus 127, we get 1. No. Minus 1 plus 127, so 126. So we get 126 here. And that's correct, I think. I'm pretty sure this one isn't a problem. We don't get any issues here, so we know that x and y aren't greater or lesser. But, so here we're tied to resolution, here we're not, so it has to be one of these are greater or small. Let's just do it like this. I just have to convince myself that this is the point where everything goes to shit. Let's try it here. But it's when we flip. There we go. There we get it. And flip quad. No, I'm wrong. Or am I? $127. Now 127 is the biggest one, I think. It's the same value. I'm starting to think. Index count. 1 sec. Some indices are referring out of bounds. 1 sec. 16384 times. What do we have? $127 times 127 times 6. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so index count. We have this many indices. Fuck it, let's do Yeah, it could actually be that it's negative as well. I want to double check. Let's do it like this. But this is not true. If index is bigger than 128 times 128. How can I print this so I get the correct information? One sec. Do we want to go... Now we do I first here. That's a little bit of a weird mismatch. Let's say we can test if this is out of bounds anywhere by doing this. So let's do... So it should be enough doing it here. Okay, interesting. What do we get now? Index was outside of the bounds. Do we get an error here this time around? Okay. It could very well be this one. Index out of bounds 16503. Yo, what's up, Fabic? Check the triangle index. Yeah, we're gonna do that eventually as well. I think we have a little bit of a mismatch here. But we also get the wrong index here. This is very interesting. 6503. And IJ 127 times 128 plus 127. Okay, this one is 128. If this one is 128, we can only go above if J and I is 128 times 128 plus 128. Yes. So I and J, we want I and J to be between 0 and 127. Currently we get up to 128 times 128 plus 128. Yeah, I don't think we get any values bigger than this. So it's just a little bit of a problem of I and J here we allow for them to be 128 when they should have an upper bound of 127. Because 127 times 128 plus 127 leaves us at 16,383. Which is the correct one. Okay, so I and J flip quad. We call it here, and we call it with PXPY, which means that the original assumption was correct. We sometimes get terrain points with an X or Y that is 128, and we get this. The only point we create these are at the initial point and when we do get neighbor. So at this point we get something that is higher, so it's index wrapped X that is fucked. If this one is 128, I'm still wondering about this one. So let's say that we have 128 here. It's bigger than 127. We call this one 128, so we get 128, we should be getting 1. I don't see how this one, we looked at this one previously, there's no way this one returns a value that is greater than M, right? No, it's not. What's up, Cooler SK? Yes, it has. It has to. It has to. One sec, however. Terrain patch or yes. Debug index, this one might yield a 128 times 128 plus 128. Yes, okay. We don't do a check here, which we should be doing, and we don't do it because this one was entirely written with one patch in mind, but it still wouldn't work for one patch. Okay, so this is, we try to set a triangle index that is outside of the patch. That's pretty much it. Everything else is done as it should. It's this J plus 1, I plus 1 that isn't checked. That's really it. Fucking hell. So Fabic, when you said check the triangle index, is this what you meant? Because we could either do, yeah, we need to check. We can't check only triangle index because the triangle index might, we might go I have to think about this one. So with this triangle index, we do this one, this one, this one. And then we do this one. Yeah, it should be enough to check triangle index, right? So 128, 127 times 128 plus 128, 16, 384. Yes. Fabic, just debug the triangle index value and check if it exceeds max triangle index value. Yeah, I think you're onto something. I think we get a case here when we go outside a terrain patch. We get a case where this index is out of bounds and this index could possibly be out of bounds. We're 100% sure this can be outside of bounds. Not so sure about this one just yet. If this one is out of bounds, nah, we can get, fuck, let's see here. Yeah, we could get an error as well when we go outside of bounds here for this one. Let's see here. Fabic, you use resolution in both equations, so both will be wrong. I'm not so sure about that. We might have, like, we might have an... Let's see here. Maybe you're correct. Let's see. If we take this one, for instance, we have... So this one doesn't exist. We have... Like, it's the +1 here. it's the +1 that screws us over. The initial triangle index will never be wrong because we don't do +1 here, but we might walk too far. So this might very well be wrong. Does that make sense, right? This one is never wrong. This one could be wrong, as well as this one. Because at most, what we could get at most here is 127 times 127 plus 127 times 6, 97. 97,536. Oh, fuck me. So it's 127 times 127 plus 127 times 6. Yeah, I'm missing something. Okay, I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm wrong. We can be at most there's 774. One 127 times 6. Yeah. Yes, okay. But I think the best way to check this, I don't think we want to check it in here. I wonder. So what is it? It's when we have a point we want to flip this point, but we can't because we don't have anything here. Or we want to flip this point, but we can't because we don't have anything here. Edge point, edge points. We want to check, I think we want to do it here, and we want to do one additional check. Fabric, no, I think we're just going one tile. So how far are we going with the checks? I think so let's see here. So what we're doing here is we have P, we have D, and then we have N1, and then we have N2, and we want to flip these. We always only flip, yeah, we always send in P, X and Y. So it's basically this one we want to flip. This one can be out of bounds, this one can be out of bounds, this one can be out of bounds. So it's probably, we could solve this by just doing a check here. I don't want to do a check here, I don't think. I want to assume when we call flip quad with an in-text, we want to make sure that this quad is flippable, and a quad is not flippable if this one is out of bounds, if this one is out of bounds, or this one is out of bounds. Because if this one is out of bounds, this one is out of bounds. If this one is out of bounds, this one is out of bounds. So we just need to check N1 and N2. If either of those are out of bounds, we don't do a flip, because we can't, even if this one is in bounds, we can't flip it because we don't have access to this one, right? So Fabric, I'm not really following the last couple of messages. But basically what we want to do is we leave this one as is. We only call flip quad if we can flip. So we want to check, is N1 in bounds, is N2 in bounds? So previously when we only had one patch, we didn't do this. We didn't flip. We didn't flip quads that were at the edge because we had this check, but this time around we can actually get a terrain patch. So it has to do with this. So I guess we could do, if this one is null, or this one is null, or P dot terrain patch is not equal to N1 dot terrain patch, or P dot terrain patch is not equal to N2 terrain patch. I'm pretty sure this is what we need to do. So if we're trying to flip this quad, this belongs to another terrain patch or this belongs to another terrain patch, then we don't do it. Does that make sense? Then I think we had one other out of bounds issue, or two more. I'm a little bit worried about the FPS here, but I'm pretty sure the FPS drop we see is related to this one. We do some very weird reflection steps because the normal here is fucked. But okay, so now we can spread between patches, but one thing you might see, yeah, we can see it here. We get a little bit of a mismatch here. And I know why, because, okay, if we take a look at this one, it has water 509. Here it has 521. Height 466. It's because when we do the fluid solver and we traverse one terrain patch, we actually do all the calculations like we're moving one point, but what we're actually doing is we're moving from one point to the same point, but the same point is represented by two different data values being held by these separate terrain patches. Fabric, I thought you had those vertex coordinates. I think we calculated them. So px, py is point coordinates in object space. It's pretty much vertex coordinates. Yeah, it's pretty much vertex coordinates. But I think, yeah, the biggest issue was this here. If this one goes out of bounds, or if any of the j+1 or i+1 goes out of bounds, we're out of bounds for both this index and the triangle index. But if we just stop a flip quad higher up in the pipeline, it's better. Okay, I want to remove this one eventually as well, but I think we can fix this one quite easily by doing first of all, we want to get the water amount to be the same. I wonder how 152.9. I find it weird. I find it a little bit weird that we get more water amount on this side. Here we move up in height. Here we should be moving parallel in height. Yeah, we move parallel from this one. Fabric, are you converting water values from float to byte? We're working with it as byte values in most places, I think. It's when we visualize it here, or when I print it, I do the normalized float value. $152.9, $152.9, $152.9, $152.9. Okay. Okay. I think we got it. Oof. Okay, let me explain this. The issue is, if we have 10 we have two terrain patches like this. Fabric, by the way, the water looks awesome. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, it's starting to look real good. I'm quite happy with it so far. Okay, 2 terrain patches. Each terrain patch has 4 data values. This one, this one, this one, and this one, they should always represent the same data. So the height value here should be equal to this. The height value here should be equal to this. It's just it's a way to make the seams invisible, pretty much. But when if we add water here, we might float there and there and there. And then when we do the next iteration of the water animation, we might flow here and here, and then this one doesn't flow anywhere. The problem being that this step is calculated as a fluid solver step. So we compare the heights here, calculate a new water value for this point and everything. But as I said, this one and this one should always represent the same data. So if we traverse terrain patches, we should always only take whatever value we have here and put it here. We shouldn't be doing any water reducing calculations or increasing calculations or anything like that. If we traverse a terrain patch, we just copy the value and continue. Leo Stera, thank you for the follow, appreciate it. And what's up, PG King? What's up, what's up? So it's a pretty basic, easy problem, but it's going to involve, worst case scenario, it's going to involve adding a few ifs and elses, which maybe it's not too bad. Maybe it's not too bad. It's check for fluid overflow. I think we have everything in one method. Let's see, move data, find reachable minimas, check for fluid overflow. I don't think, yeah, it's spread fluid we need to double check. So spread fluid, we have a P, we have a neighbor, dry constant, diagonal cost, type, fluid spread, calculate fluid spread amount. It's probably this one we want to check. I'm pretty sure. So inside of here we could probably just check I think, I'm not entirely sure about this, but it would probably be enough to do P terrain patch is not equal to N dot terrain patch, return P dot get value type. So if the point and its neighbor if they don't share, if they are not on the same terrain patch, we just copy the value over. That should probably be it. AI Fabric checking Discord right now. Is it possible that you're doing 2 steps on the boundary between the chunks? Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what we're doing wrong. We're doing 1 fluid step simulation where we shouldn't be doing 1. So this value should always be equal to this value. Neighboring terrain patches should always have the same value. Although we have a problem of, or we might have a problem, let's see. PG King, everything going smoothly, nice to hear. Yes, same here actually. Had a few issues, but they haven't really been big issues. So yeah, this value should always be equal to this value, which should always be equal. So when we have 4 terrain patches crossing here, we actually represent the same data 4 times. But what I'm getting at is as soon as we notice that we're traversing a terrain patch, we shouldn't do any of these calculations, we just set the value. I think this is how we want to do it. Fuck me. Yo, what's up, Spires? You too. Thank you for the raid. Appreciate it. Always appreciate it. What value do we have here? We have 0.40. No, 0.35. 0.35. I know why. Yeah, this is not enough. We can't calculate it here because then we do this one, and here we do some spreading. Let's see here, type fluid spread, set value, or why isn't this enough? Yes, this is definitely not enough, since this check is also true for going diagonally. So in this case, we don't want to. So if this one were spreading to this one, what we do then is we set this one's value to be equal to this one, but that's not true. So it's not as easy as this. We need to be able to identify we need to be able to differentiate between a step like this and a step like this. But in this case, anytime we change one of these, we could check, is it a edge point? If so, also set the water of its neighbor in this direction. So for instance, for each point we alter, we could do check its right neighbor, is it an edge point? If so, set this one. Check its top neighbor, is it do we change terrain patch? If so, one sec. We could probably do and we can do this in multiple different ways. I just want to find the best one. I wonder. Spread fluid. We could do some checks here. When we get the neighbors, we could handle it a little bit differently. This one is it's probably the best to do it here. If it's not the same terrain patch, we want to figure out what type of actually, let me leave that one. Fuck, are we gonna get a never-ending? No, we shouldn't. I think this is the correct approach, but we just need to check. We only want to do this if it's a correct neighbor. So in this case, we don't want to do it here. We don't want to do it here. But how can we do this check in a nice way? We could probably do terrain point, get neighbor. If this one is if we change terrain patch here, we mark it as an edge point. And that's not entirely true. It's an edge point, but it won't help us much. We could probably do it with some multiplication instead of branching. Like we could get get neighbors. Fabik going out for breakfast. Good luck. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Enjoy that breakfast. And thank you for the input as well. Do we use this one? Yeah, we probably want to add a. I think I want to add a. We're gonna do it like this. Eventually, what I would like to do is I would like to have if P is twin with terrain point n. Return p dot get value type is twin with terrain point. Public bool is twin with terrain point terrain. And basically the first check is going to be if p.terrain patch is equal to n.terrain patch, return false. We can never have a point can never be twin with a point in the same terrain patch. In fact, this feels unoptimized as hell, but how can we differentiate this and this? So this one is a twin with this one, but this one is not a twin with this one. It's because we change. Here we move 2 steps. Or rather, here we overflow only 1 coordinate. Here we overflow only 1 coordinate, but we change 2 coordinates. Yeah. I mean, we could always do a lot of ifs and else's here. I think we can do... Yes. We can check. Yes. We just check the coordinates. If only one, let's see here. This one and this one has the same x coordinate. I think I want to clean this up. Yeah, we can probably do some nice, simple coordinate comparison. I think. This one and this one, they are twins and they share y coordinate. This one and this one are not twins and they don't share any coordinate. Or actually they share y coordinate. They have the same y coordinate. Fuck, that's true. Okay, let's see here. If we move here, we change. Here we change y coordinate. Here we change. Rather, it's more like this. Here we overflow no coordinate. Here we overflow x coordinate. Here we overflow x coordinate. So the same. But we change x and y. And here we only change x. So are we gonna have to compare offsets? We could use terrain patches has indices as well. So 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. So if we only change x here, and that's the only difference here, then we have a twin. Here we change x and y, but here we only change x, so that's not a twin. Here we change x and y, and we do the same here, so yeah, we could do something with that. So we do direction. Yeah, what the fuck, if the direction here is the same as the direction for the terrain patch change. So basically, yeah. The direction here is like this. We change patches like that, so it's the same. So it's a twin. Here we change like this, but we only change patch like this, so it's not a twin. Here we change coordinates like this, and we also change patch like this, so it's a twin. This works the negative direction as well. Here we change coordinates like this, but we only change patch like this. What I hate with this, however, is I'm thinking about how the fluid would go. So for instance, we spread the fluid from this one. We check this one, it's not a twin, so we calculate it normally. And then we're fucked, because what we would like to do is we would like to calculate it like this. And then this. So we need to check, do we switch patch? First of all, let's implement the isTwin with terrain point function. So we do or actually no, I'm thinking about it the wrong way. When we do get neighbors, okay, so we should add a constraint. But that's not possible either. I was thinking that we could do but it is, I think. So this one, if we traverse a terrain patch, this one can only get its values from this one or this one. Could we add that constraint in some way? If we have fluid here and we want to spread it, we get neighbors. We have fluid here, we want to spread it. Here we don't traverse a terrain patch, so it's okay. Here we do. And here we do. So when we get neighbors here, we want to exclude this one. Because this one should only be able to get fluid from this one by twin, or from this one. So yeah, when we get neighbors, we can possibly remove some neighbors, or we don't take them into account. But then when we do this spreading, we still want to do it as if they were twins. But that still holds. I think we can go with the twin solution. Let's take this one if we compare directions. So we go from this one to this one. We can do it because they are twins. We try to go to this one, we don't because they aren't twins. So we skip this one. Then we move here, we can, and then we do that. Yeah, I think we can do it like that. Is twin with terrain point. If they don't share terrain patches, they are not twins. Or if they share terrain patch, they are not twins. Otherwise, we check. It's pretty much going to be something like this. Return. What does okay, 0 or greater, it returns 1. Because I was thinking of doing something like, but then again we have overflowing indices basically. So if we go 127 to 128, we get to 0. So it's not an easy comparison as I initially thought. But what the fuck? If we take a look at the index of this one and this, we compare the indices, we can probably calculate absolute indices. So this one has an absolute index of so what I mean by absolute index is that we take the index they have, multiply it with this index. So this one has a absolute index of 128, 0. That's also its local index. This one has an index of it has an index of 0, 0, but its absolute index is actually, this one has 127, 0. This one has an index of 0, 0, but its absolute index is 1 times 128. Fuck. 1 times... We're gonna have to do 127. Does that make sense? Yeah, 127 times 1, so 127, 0. This one has an index of 0, 1, which means that its absolute index is 127, 1. So we can see here from absolute index that these two are twins. This one and this one are not. I'm pretty sure we can do it like that. Does it work in the other direction as well? So if we go backwards, this one has an index of 0, 0, but in absolute values it's 127 times 1 plus this one, so it has an absolute of 127, 127. This one has an index of 127, 0. But its absolute index is 0 times 127 plus this one, so 127 and 127 times 1 plus this. Right. If we move down, we get 0, 0, but this one is 1. I think we can go by absolute coordinate, definitely. So that would pretty much just be, we should be able to calculate, we should be able to add terrain patch. Can we get... We have index like this, index local, private int index global. No, that's not what I want to do. But we could possibly do... I don't know if I want to do it in here or not, but basically we can do return it's gonna look something like this. Terrain patch, this one is private, so we probably want to do it in here. Okay, let's put it this way. I'm pretty sure this is the way we want to go. I think this is the cleanest way. So just to explain it real quick, it's going to be similar as object space, position, or object space index and world space index. Each terrain patch, each point in each terrain patch has some index, so 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. And the same goes for this one. Fuck, I should have thought about this one earlier. And same here and same here. But then each terrain patch as well also has an index. So this one has 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, and 1, 0. And given this, together with this, we can calculate, and the width and height of them, we can calculate a global index. And the global index allows us to compare points in different terrain patches. Basically, do they have the same global coordinate? That's about it. If we wanted to be extreme, if we wanted to be ugly with it, we could probably just do position object space. We can just check if these are the same. That's basically what we could do. So we could probably just do return terrain patch dot position os xy if this one is equal to n dot terrain patch dot position object space n dot x n dot y. Probably might get some floating point errors doing it like this. That's why I want to avoid it. But this should probably yield roughly the same thing we want. Yeah, so if we take this one into account when we spread the fluid between terrain patches, we will probably get the correct result. But I'm gonna leave on a little bit of a cliffhanger because I gotta run. And as usual during my streams, what I say we're gonna do at the beginning of the stream is most of the time not what we end up doing. I've been dreading getting the fluid solver to work with terrain patches. Turns out it's not that big of a problem. We're probably gonna finish it tomorrow. But yes, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Appreciate it, and have a great rest of the day.